Oh, hi there, this is Mike, and I wanted to tell you about a little story that happened to me about 20 some odd years ago. And it seems like yesterday now, but it's relevant. It's about something called the Christmas wish. Yeah, I'll just try and tell this as quickly as I can because there's more information on this subject on the website. And feel free to distribute the story and share it with friends. You can send them an email because it really is a very vivid memory for me, and ultimately it turned out to be a great thing for the community. What happened 20 years ago was a fall afternoon. I was just sitting and reflecting and being grateful for my youth. I was 5 years old and I could remember Christmas clear as a bell. I could remember my mother in the house and the smell of turkey and the tasting of the Christmas desserts. I could see relatives visiting. I could see a mailbox full of Christmas cards. You don't see that anymore. So I had a very, very vivid memory in that reflective Sunday afternoon when I was just thinking back. You know how you have a quiet, peaceful time and you just sort of drift back, and that's what I was doing. And it wasn't a planned thing, it just sort of happened. And I got deeper and deeper into that reflective, grateful state. And by the way, there's a lot more of this information on the website, and I hope you can get there to read the full story. So I'm looking back and I'm going 5 years old and wide-eyed wonder, and there's presents under the tree with my name on them. My name when you're 5 years old and you see your name on a present, even though it's something probably mom wrapped up and it's probably underwear because moms can do that. It was, a wide-eyed wonder moment for a child like none other. So I was just all smiles in this moment of reflection. And then I zoomed back to reality and I thought, wow, that was a wonderful time. No pressure from TV, because TV was in its infancy in those days. So I thought, the family dynamic's so different today. Single parent families, expenses like no other time in history. And a lot of these 5-year-old kids we treat them sometimes like they're too grown up. And we try to explain to little Michael that, we're having trouble financially and, we're not going to be able to do that this year. So Christmas is going to be, pretty bleak. And, that's a lot to put on a 5-year-old child. I mean, really, this is a kid. So what can we do about this? Because sure enough, Christmas will come and go and that little guy or girl will get nothing. And this is the tragedy of tragedies in this day and age. And still people say to me today, well, that doesn't happen. I mean, that was the old days. You ask a teacher, of all people, ask a teacher if they think there's any kids in their class that will get nothing. The teachers know. They see these kids every day. So I thought, we got to do something. What can we do to make sure that none of these kids fall through the cracks? And I think because I was in such a moment of gratitude for my own youth and how special that was, I became inspired to do something. And there's more on this subject on the website too. I think you'll really like that. So the gratitude spawned the inspiration for this idea. Let's do something. So at the time I was managing a radio station and I didn't really overly think it. I just said, well, I'm going in tomorrow and we're going to talk about it on the radio. And that's the easy version. What really happened was I went in and I started talking about just what I told you. I was reflecting on my youth. And before I knew it, I was on the air and people were calling. And yeah, I remember when I was 5 and wonderful time. And so I started sharing all these stories. Hours went by. The long story short is I stayed on the radio for 75 consecutive hours talking about this idea. My youth, so great. I could smell it, taste it, feel it. I could hear the jingle bells, everything. So I talked about it for 75 hours. They took me out. I was delirious at that point and I went home. The long story short is at the end of that, we had raised $12,000. This is a small town radio station who came together, the community came together and said, yeah, we think this is a great idea. We relate to kids needing this help. So we did that. We raised $12,000. All kinds of kids had a wonderful memory from that. Before you know it, it's the next year, and I'm out on the street doing something, and somebody comes up to me and says, hey, Mike, listen, hey, Christmas is 2 months away. You going to do something and help our kids at Christmas? Wow. The idea of 75 hours on radio was not appealing at that point. So I said, yeah, we got to do something, and I need a solution and change the format. Okay. So I went into the radio station and went on and did it in year 2. 12 hours on, and then I went home for 12 hours. Came back, refreshed, 12 hours on day 2, went home, came back day 3, little wrap up for 6 hours. We did this Christmas wish. I did it until I retired. I did that Christmas wish every year for 15 years. The radio station is still doing it today. They're into year 21, I think. By the time I left, we were generating $50,000 a year. The community understood the value of this idea. No kid of that age should be expected to understand there's no Christmas, regardless of how commercial we may feel it is. A kid of 5 years old needs to have that wonder of Christmas. And that's what it was all about. So it went on and on and on for many, many years, and there's all kinds of terrific anecdotal stories. Little kids who came in 3 years after we helped them, and the mother would bring them in and she'd say, you know, my son received some help, and we've been very, very strong advocates of, you know, if you receive something, you need to be grateful. A lot of those kids came into the radio station and donated to help other kids because they experienced the wonder of Christmas. And that was the offshoot. I never expected that part of it to happen, but that's exactly what happens. When you get used to receiving at a young age, it's very easy for you to become a giver. So this is a wonderful story of the Christmas wish. And one of my conversations about this is, remember, if you're a volunteer, if you've ever done any volunteering, I say this very, very strongly and passionately, never underestimate, ever, the value of a single volunteer. You just never know what a single volunteer can actually contribute to your community. Sometimes we think, it's just me, it won't matter, I'll miss a meeting. You'd be amazed at how many selfless volunteers have made an absolute difference in their community. The Christmas wish is alive today, and it's a bit of a legacy. It's something I am extremely proud of. And if you ever have any thoughts you'd like to share, find the website, jump on the blog, make a couple of comments, and never underestimate what a great idea can turn into for your community. Thanks a lot.